Okay, so we did some stuff on Friday. We have 3 servers deployed. I did make the YouTube video and did link it, I believe. Hopefully everybody sees the link under week 1. If you needed to review that, if you wanted to build this out at home and couldn't remember all the steps or wanted to double check. So we have server 1, 2, and 3 up and running. Server 3's got the second drive in it. We made a storage pool off of it, and we shared out a file, a folder, not a file. We shared out a deployment share. We allowed domain computers to have access to that. We did the standard administrators, full control, everyone change rights to implement mandatory access control. And now we're at the point of launching server 1 into enhanced session mode. By default, it's in basic mode. So when you connect in, you click the little button here. It says enhanced session mode for Hyper-V. Select the resolution size, probably just keep the default. And we can log in. I'm going to go ahead and right click and open up the deployment share. Just so it's there on the screen, and it will allow us to paste items into that deployment share. Hopefully, we may have to paste to the desktop and then copy and paste, but we'll see if we can do a right click and paste into this deployment share. That's our goal. And what we're going to put in there, we're going to put in Google Chrome, and we're also going to put in the group policy templates for the latest version of Google Chrome. Where do you think we might find that? On the internet, right? Except we're not just going to search for Google Chrome, because it's going to take you to the Google Chrome installer for a single PC for Windows. We're wanting to set up a deployment for Google Chrome for the enterprise. And that's a little bit different. And the enterprise edition comes with the group policy settings. So launch your browser and go ahead and search for Google Chrome Enterprise. Typically, if you search for any particular product, maybe Adobe DC Reader Enterprise, or any product with Enterprise, if they are any size company at all, they will have their product in a bundle for deploying with Active Directory. Google is kind of a big company. Okay, giant company. They're kind of a big deal. If you've not heard of them before, they're a big deal. So we have a link here, Chrome Enterprise, browser and OS devices for business. So if I click this link, we have chromeenterprise.google. What a website. Just scroll down. They have a lot of stuff here. Get Chrome browsers at the top of the screen. So let's go ahead and click on that. Download Chrome browser for your enterprise. Definitely different than just normal. So stable. We're having a bundle. So if I hover over this, this is different from last time that I downloaded. So this drop down shows this bundle includes the Chrome MSI installer and the ADMX files. The ADMX files is what we are key into grabbing. Those are the group policy central store bundle. Cool. And the MSI installer, MSI files are used for deploying through group policy. 64-bit, so 118 meg download. That's what we want. Always look for the package that includes the ADMX files and MSI. So grab it. If you want to make note of that to deploy software with Active Directory, you need an MSI and file extension installer, and you need the ADMX and ADML files. Once it's downloaded, go ahead and click Show in Folder. And you're going to copy that file. We're going to cross our fingers, stick our tongue out the left side, and click Paste and hope it goes all the way across. Sweet, it did. How about everybody else? Did that work for you? Awesome. We'll go ahead and when I right clicked on it, it says opening these files might cause harm, blah, blah, blah. Okay, sure, I know. I'm going to extract all. Yeah, sure. Looks good. Extract. Cool. It did open up 2 File Explorer windows. If I look under installers, I have the Google Chrome standalone support bundle endpoint verification. That's all cool stuff. We'll just leave those in place. And I'm going to go up a folder. There's some documentation that you can read if you want to. For our lab purposes, we're not putting this into production, so I don't need to sit down and spend a day reading the documentation on Google Chrome. We're just going to play with real quick, how can you set these in? But if you want more advanced configurations and stuff, you sit there and read. If you're going to deploy this in a banking situation or anything higher security, you probably want to read all the documentation. Lots and lots of reading. I hope you like reading in the IT world. So we're going to go into configuration. Configuration is where the ADMX and ADM files are located. ADM is for older legacy Active Directory deployments. I don't think you'll ever deal with those. Everything is ADMX now. So open up the ADMX folder. And as we scroll down, we have all these ADMX files at the bottom. We'll go ahead and grab every one of them and copy them. So right now, just the ADMX files. And this is where students make the biggest mistake. They put the ADMX files in the wrong folders and the ADML files in the wrong folders. You notice these are all ADMX, and there's a whole bunch of other folders up here that are country code abbreviations. Those hold the language files. They have to be separate. They also have to be separate when we place them in Active Directory. So I'm starting with ADMX, and I'm going to access my network share of contoso.com, the domain shares anyway. These are replicated to all the domain controllers. We'll go into sysvol, the domain name again, policies, and from Friday, I think it was, or Wednesday, you remember we copied the policy definition folder out of the Windows, out of the main controller subfolder, placed it here. So we'll open the policy definitions up, and you'll see we have one language file because, well, we're in the US and we're not a multinational company that we're playing with, so we just have one language. And you have all these ADMX files. So I'm going to put my mouse in a white area and right click until it just paste. Now we'll paste the Google policies. I've had students put the ADML files here and ADMX files, and then they can't find them in group policy. So I got to separate them. So now I'm going to open up the English US folder. And I notice this is full of ADML, the language files. Active Directory Management, I think, is what these are. Active Directory Management, X means for configuration. And ADML, Active Directory Management Language. I'd have to verify that by searching, but that's, if you see an X, you normally replace it with configuration. And this is Active Directory Management stuff. So I'm gonna call it that. We'll open up our English-US, because that's the same folder name, English-US. So if we open up that, you'll see you have a group of ADML files. Do the same thing, copy those, make sure you're in the English inside the policy definition and paste. That way they're separate. And when you paste, scroll and look at the highlighted ones, make sure they actually have the L on the end and not the X. That's your trick. Does that look complicated? You just match the file extensions. If you can't see file extensions on a particular share, you click on View and you click the little checkbox, File Name Extensions, so that it forces it to show file name extensions. Then you can verify that the file extensions match. So pay attention to the path. This is also described in Test.Out Corporation. You have the double backslashes with your domain name, followed by sysvol, followed by the domain name again, and then policies. And that's where you put your policy definitions folder. Within that is your ADMX files, and then subfolders under policy definitions contain the language files. Once those are installed, we can individually look on each domain controller by going \/ server 1. Notice server 1 has the same shares as contoso.com. I can go into sysvol, I can go into Contoso, policies, policy definitions, and I can find Chrome ADMX. It's there. I can make sure that my replication is working by typing the name of every server that's an Active Directory domain controller right there. Our second server is simply server 2. So if I change this to a 2 and hit enter, it loads up the policy definition on server 2. And if I look, I see it does include chrome.admx. This is also kind of a diagnostic thing. If you update policies like that, just go ahead and check every single domain controller that you have and make sure those files are replicated to every one of them. It's the magic multi-master replication. you access a common name like Contelsa.com and paste it, and it just randomly picks a server to connect to. And then once you dump stuff onto that server, it pushes it to all the other servers. So that's what happens. I don't know which server we connected to, if it was server 1 or server 2, but we connected to one of them when we did // Contelsa.com. It connects to one of the domain controllers. Really cool stuff. It's magic. Or just a whole lot of code in the background. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close all of that out. And now let's look. What do we do with those files? How does that help us? If we launch group policy management from one of our servers, from one of our domain controllers, or if we have this installed on a Windows 10 machine, the group policy management for Contelsa.com. And we edit any group policy object. We won't make changes to this, but if we go ahead and just see what we did, edit a group policy object. There's only 2 right now, default domain policy and default domain controller policies. Edit one of them, and just for a look, let's see if there's policies we can push to a computer or to user accounts. So open up policies. Open up administrative tools. And as I put my mouse over administrative tools, administrative templates, you notice, or if I just move the little bar across, it has ADMX files in parentheses. Those are the ADMX files that are read from either the Windows folder, or if you make the central store, like we copy the folder and put it into Active Directory, it now reads them all from the policy definition folder under that sysvol share. Go and expand this out. You see the product that we added. Google. That's there because we copied those files into the central store. So there's some default settings that users can override. And then there's some settings up here that users can't override. Legacy policies. There's also some just directly under Google Chrome. So let's take a moment and look through these policies. The policy I'm looking for is directly under, so click Google Chrome, and there's allow dinosaur Easter egg game. It is not configured. Have you ever played the dinosaur Easter egg game in Google Chrome? Some of you say yes. We're not going to configure that just yet. We're going to wait, deploy Google Chrome through group policy and install a Windows 10 machine. See if we can play the dinosaur game. Then we're going to go back and enable a policy and disable it. And then we'll restart and see that it takes effect and works. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and just close these out. I didn't want to make any changes. You don't want to make changes to the default domain policy anyway, unless it's password. If you want to change the password settings, that's what default domain policy is designed for, is password aging, password expiration. If you want anything else, you pretty much want to create another policy at the same level and link it there. That's your best practice. Don't mess around with default domain policy unless you're messing with the password policy. 2016 server and later, they've actually made some improvements. They allow you to have different password policies for different organizational groups. In the past, that only pulled it out of the default domain policy, but now they've allowed it with later forest function levels. 2016 at least, that you can have different password policies for different organization groups within your company. Let's go ahead and launch Active Directory users and computers. Let's prep the domain with organizational units. What do you remember was important about organizational units from your first class? Why do we create them? In order to group users together, that's one of its main, but its number one main purpose is to allow to configure group policies on. Not really permissions. Permissions are on files and folders. Rights. So you can configure group policies. Those are called rights. What rights do you have to the computer system? Do I have the right to shut it down? Do I have a right to browse the network? Stuff like that. Permissions are, can I read a file? Can I write to a file? Can I delete a file? So there's a difference between rights and permissions. So rights are controlled through group policy. Permissions are controlled through the NTFS tab and the share tab. Let's go ahead and create an organizational unit or workstations. Let's go and create an organizational unit for servers. And let's create an organizational unit for people. What do we want to call this? Minions. So workstation, servers, and minions. We likely have a server already connected, server 3. So we'll go ahead and drag it out and put it into the servers. We won't mess with the main controllers because they are already an organizational unit. You see the extra icon on the Manila folder. They are good. We can control these, and they've actually got a default domain controller group policy set on them already. And these other folders, they have built-in accounts, groups, and stuff created. That's pre-built permissions hard-coded into the OS. So we don't move these, but we don't put any of our own created, generated user accounts or groups in these folders. Any computers that join into the computer folder, we want to move them out into organizational units. That way we can control them because they're not controllable inside these manila folders. So from LAN 1 class, you should have remembered that those folders you can't apply group policies to. And you love the power trip. Control everything and control the lives of everybody at a company. So you make sure that you drag stuff out so you can keep that power trip high. Dustin's like, yeah. Wade's over there, cool. Like, yes.
I've been power tripping for 8 years. Cop joke.
Okay.
Is it good one?
Yes.
I don't have servers for you hearing.
What did you do?
Oh, no. No server 3.
I can't
hear
That's terrible. Okay, let's create a minion. Bob is a minion. So is Kevin. So is Stuart. I think those are the 3 main minions. Let's go ahead and create Bob. Bob T. Minion. I don't know. Let's make it the. There we go. Bob the minion. Username Bob.minion. Gotta stick to the theme. And I'm gonna go ahead and, it's a lab situation, so you would not do this in production. You'd leave the checkboxes alone in a production environment, but lab situations, I'm gonna move the checkboxes around. Pass 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. So we got Bob the minion. We're good now. Let's create some policies. So group policy. Need policies right away? Nah, I don't need policies right away. Nah, let's not do any policies yet. Yeah, I do. I forgot. Yeah. Yeah, we need policies. Workstations. Let's go and create a GPO in this domain and link it here. We got a deployment policy. That's what I want. We'll do software deploy. And hit OK. So let's go and edit the policy and let's deploy out to Google Chrome. That'll be a computer configuration policy. Software settings and a new package. We got to find it on server 3, Whack server 3. So Whack server 3, go under deployment, go under Google Chrome bundle, go under installers and pick that middle installer. It should be the 78,000 kilobyte Google Chrome standalone enterprise 64-bit. Once that one's highlighted, just hit open. and assign it and hit OK. And we'll have to query the package. Build all the keys and stuff for deployment and verify that it's a legitimate package to push out. Once that's done, it'll appear on the right side of the screen. Any moment now. Depending on the size of the package and the speed of your network connection and the speed of the servers, it can take a while. It should be fairly quick. I'm going, well, okay, there it is. It's interesting that it's 68.104. When you look at the installer, it's probably like Google Chrome 89 something. So they definitely do not jive together. What is Google Chrome actually on when you go to About Google Chrome? 92. So this will probably be deployed out as Google Chrome version 90 something. I have no idea why they show 68.104. Internal build numbers versus public numbers are showing. Does everybody have Chrome showing up? I heard a no. Yeah, if you ever see the publish not grayed out, you're likely in the wrong spot. If you're under user configuration, and you try to create one, you can publish or assign or advanced. Publish makes it show up in the add remove programs for users, and they can add the application if they want it or not on their computer. Users aren't that smart. The capability's there, but I don't know of hardly any IT staff that uses that feature, because users are, well, they're not IT professionals. I mean, I guess publish might be there for an engineering firm, an IT engineering firm, or the only thing that you do is code applications. You're like NSG or something. You're a hosting firm and all of your people are IT people. You might use publish in some situations like that. Most of the time, you're probably not the IT staff of an IT firm. So you're probably not doing publish. You are forcing the appropriate applications onto the computers and not giving the users a choice because they don't know. So that's why there's difference. So with that done, let's go ahead and install Windows 10. I'm going to go ahead and just close out my server. And I'm going to create a new virtual machine and install Windows 10 before break time. Make sure I'm recording again. Yep, I'm recording. So we're going to install new virtual machine. All the same conventions, but it's going to be client 1. This is just a mirror of what we did in LAN 1 class. And because it is a continuation of LAN 1 class.
LAN 2.
Should be LAN 2. I started looking at that. I was like, that looks different. Something doesn't look the same. Little Sesame Street music going on in the background. Okay, now they look like the others, except for the client one at the end, but that's cool. Okay, generation 2, we're same 40. We got tons of RAM in these systems, so. $4096 dynamic memory. Networking is going to be internal. The hard disk size 30 gig. It's Windows 10. And we'll install an operating system. We'll install the long-term service build 2019. You'll likely have a 1607 version of Windows 10. And you're not installing that one. You're installing the Windows 10 long-term service 2019 version. And if that doesn't show up in your ISO folder, you may have to go into your Canvas shell and download it. But I think we all pre-downloaded those and put them into our ISO folder. Security class is using the 1607 version of Windows 10. We're using the new version, the 2019. Win 10 ENT. So finishing out, connect to it, start the installer process, and then take a break. Yes. Then, yeah, go to Canvas week 1 and download it, and then move it over there. Remember, you don't want to ever install the end version of Windows 10. That's without media extensions. And then if the person ever needs media extensions in the future, it's a havoc to keep it updated. So once it starts copying files, you can take a break. Okay, so come back off break time. We got to finish up our windows and I guess shut it down because we forgot to modify some settings. Let's finish the out of box experience. And skip the networking. Can't. You're just going to use this PC. Me.
Administrator or student? I'm just gonna use PC.
I just typed me.
Did you turn all those off?
Yeah. I don't know what they said, but Microsoft was asking, so I'm going to say no.
Just asking if you want to allow them to scrape analytics out of your machine every now and then.
No.
Can we use your information and sell it to advertisers to make more money off of you? What's our friend thing? Security. John.
I don't know.
Pedro sits over there.
We have a Pedro.
I have a Pedro in one of my classes.
Oh.
There's actually right to me on that.
Yes.
Hang on, man.
Hold up.
Now, who's the kid that sits in front of you? Is it Jonathan? That sits right in front of you?
Security? I don't know.
Teacher of the year goes to.
I didn't even remember the name of the person I got a job at the public school with, and I've just seen him like walking around like, yeah, he's the weird, cool kid that was funny in class and
The one that tried.
whatever his name is.
Yeah. Oh.
Um, Jonathan?
Yeah. that's what I thought.
See?
Yeah.
Twice.
Smiling on what?
Regulations.
There's too many.
I'm gonna shut down this Windows machine.
Yeah. I feel like that's appropriate.
I can't wait for the copy.
Okay.
to come out.
Y'all remember what we did to the other systems where we changed the memory to max out at 4096 and the 384. I don't know if we really need two processors or not, but nah. I'll leave it at one processor. Windows. It's not a server. It's not doing database junk too much. So I'm just going to do the memory on this one.
How's 4096 out?
Get out of there. Click really chair. Yeah.
For the IP address settings, I'll leave these up here on the screen, but we were and 2 class, we're 192.168.2. I'm gonna put this one at 49. There's a reason. There is a future reason. Yes,
You won't let me change the maximum RAM.
it's running. That's why it can't be running. So there's your memory setting, not memory, your IP settings. I'll leave those on the screen for a bit. Once your IP is set, you'll want to go ahead and change your computer name to client 1, reboot, and then you'll want to join it to the contoso.com domain. Let it reboot, then you can start logging as bob.minion into the contoso.com domain. Once you get logged in as bob.minion, Google Chrome should auto install and be on your computer. Then you can play the dinosaur game. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and now, and many of you's moved on ahead and getting the computers joined into the domain and stuff. I'll go ahead and do that for mine. So I'm gonna start with, I guess, system and change my computer name. I think it's locked up. Anybody else get just a black screen when they went to restart? Well, mine did. I had to stop it. Remember how to join to the domain, and that you skip the question on, are you an admin or not? So where do they hide the stuff? Accounts, access worker school, you know, and production systems, I just use the Windows pause break key, and I do it all through here. But I figure this will disappear sometimes. This is a whole lot faster than going through this other cogwheel stupid thing, but I told y'all to do the modern way in case the other way disappears when y'all get out there. You know, Windows pause break and accessing system properties and joining that way is pretty awesome. Join this device to local Active Directory domain. This is the step you always skip because that's pointless for it to be asking that. Oh, the minion. Okay, Google Chrome didn't get installed because we didn't move the computer yet. That's why. It's not in an organizational unit. Enos, have you figured out the permission issue yet? Did you figure out the permission issue?
Yes.
So I moved the client. I had to refresh my screen, but I moved client down to workstation so it'll read the policy. And one other thing y'all are experiencing is something we could control with group policy. You can't log in with enhanced session mode because Bob doesn't have remote desktop rights to the client machines. So from the server, we can create a new group policy object for workstations. So I'm going to create a inside group policy management, create a new group policy object. We'll just go ahead and do remote desktop settings. So I'll create and link it under workstations. Go ahead and edit the policy. And we'll expand out policies, Windows settings, security settings, and we're navigating to restricted groups. Restricted groups are a great way to control who has access to things. And there are pre-built-in groups in Windows. There are pre-built-in groups in Active Directory that you can add people to give them rights. Mr. Hudson found a remote desktop group and added user to it, thinking that would solve the problem. Yeah, but that remote desktop user group is likely only for the local domain. So he found remote desktop users. It's domain local. That means people in that group are given rights to the domain controllers, nothing else. It's a really great thought, is thinking along the correct lines. However, we need to look at the local computer, not the domain controllers. So there's local computer groups that you can investigate under computer management on Windows client machines. And you can look at them to see, is there a group that has the permissions I need so I don't have to reinvent the wheel? And there is the same group right here, remote desktop users on the local Windows 10 machine. So I see the spelling of it, there's spaces in there. Remote space desktop user, looking at the upper and lower case shouldn't be a problem, but I'm going to have it done exactly. So I'll go over to the server. This restricted group, I'm going to add a group. This restricted group are the groups that would be found on local Windows machines. And they have to be spelled exactly for it to work. Remote desktop users. Everybody carries cell phones around, so sometimes you'll go to a Windows 10 machine, you'll take a picture of the group listing, and then you can go back to your configuration workstation. You can bring it up on your phone and zoom in, and then make sure you type stuff. Phones made things really easy, especially for us IT people that can't spell anything. You just take pictures and carry it with you. You'll see a lot of that happening. With it being virtual, I can pull them up side by side and look and make sure that I have it spelled correctly. Remote desktop users. Make sure there's no extra spaces or anything that you get, and hit OK. So the group's being created and you want to have members in that group. So members of this group, I'll go ahead and click add. I'm going to go and browse for them. And I'm going to type in an Active Directory group that would have Bob in it. The main users. I might not want to be so shotgunish approach and allow everybody to have remote desktop rights to all of the computers and their workstations. I might want to create a minions group and just have a certain number of people in there. But for lab purposes, we're going to go ahead and just say everybody. Everybody's a member of domain users. We'll hit OK and OK. We did this in LAN 1, but it's a refresher. The restricted groups option is a quick way to apply rights to a particular group or everybody, like domain users, to a set of workstations or computers on the network. So I'll hit OK. So remote desktops, meaning this group on Windows 10, will have domain users added to it. What will that allow? Anybody in the domain users Active Directory group will be given right to log on remotely, meaning the remote desktop. The command line tool to speed things along. Do you remember from LAN 1, what is the command line to speed things along when you make a group policy change? Very, very proud of you. GP update /force. Very good. You remembered. Did you work in IT over the summer? I was going to say, if you worked in IT over the summer, then I could understand you remembering this because you may have had to use it. Restart required. Yes, let's go ahead and restart the computer. I'm going to close all of these out on the server side. Once it restarts, it should read both policies. It should install Google Chrome. And when we go check the groups, the main users should be in the remote desktop local group on the Windows 10. So GP update, there's no spaces. Stands for group policy update. Then it's followed by space and / and the word force, FORCE. And Dustin, if you scroll down on yours, it probably is asking you yes or no. I'll log in as Bob Dominion. Google Chrome is installed on the desktop. If I check my group policy, not my group policy, if I check my computer management and I check the group memberships, and specifically this one, domain users is now added in because we pushed that out with group policy. That's what you should see inside of remote desktop users on your Windows machine. Now, the dinosaur game. Try to access a website. And I try to reload it. There's no internet. Now I can, oops, maybe I shouldn't have hit. Maybe I shouldn't have clicked it. When the dinosaur comes up, hit space bar, he takes off. And game over. I died. I'm not very good. I also see my date and time is off. I'm going to change it while I'm in here. Okay, you're annoyed when the internet goes out because you're hearing all these bleep, bleep. People are playing the dinosaur game. And it grates on your nerves. You can't stand it. But you're the admin. And you know about Central Store and you know about group policy.
I'm gonna be Scrooge.
And you know, so you're going to go into group policy and you've already deployed out Google Chrome. You know about the ADMX files and ADMLs. And so you've got that all planned out. So you're like, yep. Let's create a new policy here for workstations. Because those people that are using these workstations right here are playing games in Chrome. So we'll create a new policy and we'll name it Google Chrome policy. So 3 group policies are made. One of them's deploying out the software. We made a policy for security called remote desktop. If we do make other organizational units in the future, we can reapply these policies to them. If we need to extend them to other folders or other groups of computers, we can just link the existing policy to new organizational units. Maybe we needed to add those to the servers or something. So we can easily link an existing GPO and pick one in the list. So that's nice. And naming them so you understand what they're doing would be easy. I'm not going to link one, but just showing, hey, you can link one to other groups easily. Workstations, my Google Chrome policy. We'll go ahead and edit that. We're going to disable the dinosaur game. So that was under computer configuration. Administrative templates. Notice there's also one for user. There's also administrative templates down here for user, and they also have Google. So if you just particularly don't like somebody, you could have an organizational unit just for them and put them in there and just apply policies only to them. And you would do the user settings so they'd flow to just that person. So if there's a Karen in there will be, you can have the own organizational unit just for her. You can have a Karen organizational unit. But we're going to apply this to blanket all PCs. But yeah, just to know a Karen, because the second shift that comes in and sits down and logs in, well, that's a nice person. So you let them play the dinosaur game.
You could use it to your advantage. Could be some hot chick that you want to talk to, so you can fuck her computer up so she has to contact you. Then your boss finds out you're fired, so.
Actually, if you get things working too well, which is not really ever the case, but if everything's working really well, you have everything you've thought and everything's designed out and nothing's breaking and you're worried that you're going to lose your job because there's not enough work for you to do anymore. You're like, I could start screwing stuff up. I've never heard an administrator say that the network was working so smoothly that they were worried that they didn't have enough work to do. Never. But let's go ahead and do
Go around unplugging people's shit.
Google Chrome. Put Google Chrome in the dinosaur game. Where did it go? Allow
Dinosaur.
Easter egg dinosaur game. We'll double click on that and we'll disable that game. So that's disabled. Close out this policy. I'll run another GP update /sync. Let me see, GP update / cause the next foreground policy application to be done synchronously. Foreground policy. Just GP update should work without any slashes. Okay. I'm going to check Chrome out and try to access the most reputable news site in the world. Nobody's laughing at that? Okay. I must believe CNN then.
I mean, that could be a number of sites.
Is it still there?
The owner of this device. turned
I didn't
on
reload it, so it's still here.
The owner of this device turned off the dinosaur game. Meteors now.
That's pretty cool. The meteors killed the dinosaur.
Is it really?
Yep. Google is great.
What did you do before?
Google is great. I kind of equate some of their engineers as like Elon Musk style engineers. They have their own unique sense of humor. Sorry, the owner released the meteors. The dinosaurs are dead. That's what it should have said.
The dinosaurs.